Hi, this is Ryan, and I'm staring at a piece of silicon that technically outpaces my heavy-duty desktop rig, but somehow still panics if I ask it to manage two external folders at the same time. Apple wants you mesmerized by the M4's multi-core benchmark scores. Microsoft wants you staring at the Snapdragon X Elite's battery graphs. But literally nobody in these sterile keynote presentations is talking about what happens when you plug a standard Samsung T7 SSD into the side of these things, try to drag a 4 GB video file into two different apps, and watch the operating system duplicate the file instead of just reading it. Actually, wait, that's not even the worst part. The worst part is that we keep falling for it. We keep buying 12-inch panes of glass thinking this is the year the tablet finally kills the laptop, only to end up with a $1,000 Netflix screen. So I spent the last month daily driving the 4 biggest laptop replacements on the market to see if any of them actually pull it off. If you're into tech reviews that test the boring, infuriating stuff the commercials conveniently leave out, stick around and maybe hit subscribe. Because if processor speed doesn't actually make a tablet a laptop, what exactly are we paying for? I spent the last 4 weeks trying to do my actual job entirely on 4 slabs of glass. I bought the 13-inch M4 iPad Pro, the new Snapdragon-powered Surface Pro 11, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 Ultra, and, just to keep the playing field grounded, a $400 Lenovo Chromebook Duet. My very first physical impression of the high-end models, the sheer density. I remember unboxing the iPad Pro, snapping it onto that $350 Magic Keyboard, holding it in one hand, and realizing this feels heavier than my MacBook Air. I actually weighed them later, and it is. We spent a decade trying to make laptops thinner, only to reinvent the laptop in 2 pieces, stick a magnet in the middle, and make it top-heavy. Actually, let me back up for a second. We need to define what replacing a laptop actually means, because the tech industry is playing fast and loose with the definition. If your daily workflow consists of firing off Slack messages, answering emails, and occasionally signing a PDF, a smart fridge could replace your laptop. I'm not talking about light administration. I'm talking about real, chaotic, messy work. The kind of work where you have a Zoom call pinned in the corner, you're cross-referencing a massive spreadsheet, and you need to pull a 10 GB project file off an external drive, zip it, and upload it to a client portal. Frictionless context switching. That is the baseline for a laptop, and that is exactly where the illusion of the Pro tablet starts to crack. It starts with the physical hardware. The commercials always show these models sitting effortlessly on a designer coffee table or resting gently on someone's lap under an oak tree. So I tried the lap test. I took the Surface Pro 11 to my living room couch to write this script. To keep the screen upright without a rigid hinge, you have to deploy the metal kickstand. After about 15 minutes of typing, the thin edge of that kickstand was digging so hard into my thigh, I had to go find a throw pillow just to finish a paragraph. The iPad with the Magic Keyboard is a bit better because it actually has a solid base. But because all the heavy components, the screen, the battery, the motherboard, are floating in the air rather than sitting under the keyboard, the whole rig is incredibly unstable. If you push the screen back just a few degrees too far while it's on your lap, the entire thing tips backwards onto the floor. I caught it by the corner twice in one afternoon. It's these tactile realities that the marketing glosses over. Take the trackpads. When you use a real laptop, the trackpad is hardwired directly to the motherboard. It's instant. But on a lot of these 2-in-1s, the keyboard deck connects via tiny little pogo pins. I noticed on the Samsung Tab S9 Ultra that if even a tiny speck of dust or desk grime gets onto those pins, the trackpad cursor starts to stutter. You try to highlight a sentence and the cursor lags by half a second. It completely shatters the illusion that you're using a real computer. I was sure the Samsung was going to be the dark horse here, by the way. It has this massive 14.6-inch screen, and if you turn on Samsung DeX, it literally forces Android into a Windows desktop environment. It looks exactly like Windows. But the moment you detach it and pick it up in landscape mode to use as an actual tablet, the 16:10 aspect ratio makes it feel like you're holding a cafeteria tray. The weight distribution is just completely hostile to human hands. You're probably thinking, Ryan, they're tablets. Of course there are physical compromises. That's the trade-off for portability. And yeah, I thought that too. I am entirely willing to put up with a wobbly keyboard and a top-heavy screen if it means I get the absolute freedom of a touch-first, ultralight OS when I pop it off the magnetic stand. That's the dream, right? We accept the physical awkwardness because we think the software is going to set us free. But that is the trap. We pay a massive premium, in some cases over $2,000 once you buy the mandatory accessories, thinking we're buying flexibility. Instead, we're paying for the privilege of fighting an operating system that fundamentally doesn't trust us. And when I finally plugged my SSD into the side of the iPad Pro to actually get some real work done, that's when I realized how deep the deception really goes. I plugged my Samsung T7 Shield into the USB-C port of the M4 iPad Pro. It has Thunderbolt. It should be technically faster than my desktop rig. I opened the Native Files app, found a 12GB folder of 4K B-roll, and dragged it into LumaFusion to start a timeline. Then I realized I needed to check those same clips in Lightroom for a quick color grade test. On a Mac, or any normal computer, both of those apps would just point to the external drive. The files stay put. On the iPad, it physically duplicated the entire 12GB folder into LumaFusion's isolated sandbox, and then it duplicated it again into Lightroom sandbox. I watched my internal storage drop by 24 gigs in 3 minutes just because I wanted to look at my own footage in 2 different apps.
It's infuriating. I keep saying the file management is bad on these devices, but what I really mean is that the operating system fundamentally treats you like a toddler. Apple engineered a processor that could simulate weather patterns, but it won't let you organize a root folder without holding your hand and making a massive mess on the back end. And then there's the memory. You've probably heard the marketing pitch that 8 gigs of unified memory is equal to 16 gigs of regular RAM. It's a great line. It is also mathematically false when it comes to keeping your apps alive. I was writing an outline in Google Docs on Safari, swiped up to open a reference video on YouTube, replied to a text, and when I swiped back to Safari, the page flashed white and reloaded. The iPad had killed my background task to save memory. $1,000 Pro machine, and it can't keep a text document awake if you look away for too long. So at this point, I'm thoroughly fed up with the walled garden, and I turn to the Surface Pro 11. This is it, right? Full Windows, no sandboxing. You get a real, unfiltered C drive. I set it up on my desk, snapped 3 windows side by side flawlessly, something the iPad still struggles to do with Stage Manager throwing a UI tantrum. And for about 2 hours, it felt glorious. The OLED screen is stunning, the battery was actually holding up. But then I tried to install a niche audio equalizer plugin I've used for years. A gray dialog box popped up. Architecture not supported. Okay, annoying, but maybe I can find a workaround. Later that night, I tried to launch a multiplayer game my friends play. The anti-cheat software immediately blocked it. Why? Because this isn't regular Windows. It's Windows running on an ARM chip, the Snapdragon X Elite. It has to translate older traditional software on the fly. And while it translates a lot of basic things perfectly, when it hits a wall, it hits it hard. You don't get a warning on the Best Buy placard that a random 5% of your software just flat out won't open. I haven't tested the ARM compatibility long term yet, so grain of salt, but it really feels like we are caught in this weird, expensive purgatory.
On one side, you have the iPad and the Samsung Ultra, beautiful hardware that runs incredibly cool but restricts your workflow to glorified mobile apps. On the other hand, you have the Surface, promising the real desktop experience but playing Russian roulette with app compatibility. Which brings me to the $400 Lenovo Chromebook. I bought this thing as a joke, honestly. I just wanted a cheap baseline for the video. It's mostly plastic. The keyboard deck has so much flex, I feel like I might snap it if I type angry. But you know what happened? When I hooked it up to a monitor and opened 20 tabs in a full, unrestricted desktop version of Chrome, it just worked. It chugged a little bit, sure. The back of the plastic chassis got noticeably warm right under the camera bump after about 10 minutes, but it didn't block my web plugins. It didn't duplicate my files. A $400 piece of creaky plastic respected my actual workflow more than a piece of machined aluminum that cost as much as a used Honda. This is where it gets weird. The entire tech community is obsessing on tandem displays and millimeter thickness. Apple literally ran a multi-million-dollar ad crushing musical instruments to show you how impossibly thin the new iPad is. But nobody's crushing a frustrating UI. I would gladly take a tablet that was twice as thick and weighed a pound more if I got a proper cooling solution and an operating system that didn't treat me like a liability. We are paying premium, heavy-duty prices for Formula One engines, and they're locked inside golf carts. At first, I thought these devices were just overpriced. Then I forced myself to work exclusively on them for 30 days. And, okay, it's actually a lot more complicated than just the price tag. It's not that they are fundamentally bad pieces of technology. The engineering required to pack a tandem OLED display and M4 chip into a chassis that thin is staggering. But they're solving a problem most of us don't actually have anymore, while introducing entirely new points of friction.
When you strip away the sleek commercials and the beautifully lit B-roll, the tablet as a laptop pitch is basically an economic trap disguised as minimalism. You think you're buying one device to do it all. In reality, you're buying a $1,000 screen. Then you realize you can't type on glass, so you buy the $350 keyboard. Then you realize navigating a desktop browser with a touchscreen is exhausting, so you buy the $130 stylus just to have a precise pointer. By the time you're done outfitting your iPad Pro or your Surface Pro, you haven't saved any weight in your backpack, and you certainly haven't saved any money. You've just rebuilt a laptop piece by piece for a 40% markup, and the result is a floppy, top-heavy machine that collapses if you shift your knees on the couch. Actually, scratch that. It's not even just about the physical awkwardness. It's about the life cycle of the hardware itself. I've seen this happen with older models. In 3 or 4 years, when the battery inevitably degrades, it starts expanding. In a normal laptop, that's annoying, but usually manageable. In these ultra-thin glass sandwiches, a swelling battery presses directly against the back of that gorgeous OLED panel, causing yellowing or dead pixels. And because everything is glued together to achieve that millimeter-thin profile, you can't just easily pop the back off and swap the cell. The whole rig is basically cooked. We're accepting planned obsolescence in exchange for a camera bump and a detachable screen. So where does that leave us? If your daily workflow requires 0 legacy plugins and you primarily live inside a web browser, the Surface Pro 11 is a genuinely compelling piece of hardware. I'm not gonna lie, detaching that screen at the end of the day, kicking back in a recliner and watching a movie on that display is fantastic. Just know that you are acting as an unpaid beta tester for Windows on ARM, and eventually you will find a program that simply refuses to open.
If you have 0 budget constraints and your job is highly visual, if you're illustrating in Procreate or scrubbing through timelines in Final Cut, the iPad Pro is an alien artifact. The actuation force required to draw a line with the Apple Pencil Pro is practically 0. It feels like real ink flowing out of a physical pen. It's beautiful. But if you're the person I'm really talking to here, the person who just wants a reliable machine to run their business, manage their life, and maybe watch some YouTube without fighting the operating system, if it were my $1,500, I am not buying any of these. I stared at my own shopping cart last week with the Surface Pro 11 sitting in it, and I just couldn't pull the trigger. Instead, I would walk right past the tablet aisle and buy a 13-inch MacBook Air M3 or a solid Yoga Lenovo if you prefer Windows. When my month-long experiment ended, I went back to my standard laptop. I opened the lid, the rigid hinge stayed exactly where I put it, the cold aluminum of the palm rest supported my wrists perfectly. I rested the whole thing on my lap while sitting cross-legged on the floor, and it didn't wobble once. The trackpad responded instantly because it's physically wired to the board, not communicating through dusty pogo pins. It was a massive relief. I didn't have to think about the hardware. I just did my work. Sometimes the boring traditional design is traditional for a reason. It respects the physics of how human beings actually sit, type, and operate. We don't need our computers to pull apart into 2 pieces. We just need them to get out of our way. If you appreciate tech reviews that care more about how a device actually survives in your house than what it scores on a benchmark, hit subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you've tried to make the tablet lifestyle work, and I'll see you in the next one.